Hi, I'm Mike, and welcome to Mike's Model Studio. Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were several railroads in Wisconsin, and most of them operated uh, throughout the state, but the narrow gauge were primarily used in northern Wisconsin. They were logging railroads and basically were shut down once the highways were built and trucks started coming through. However, there was one in southwest Wisconsin that was primarily a commuter line between Woodman and Fenimore, Wisconsin. This was about 16 miles long. It was a 3-foot gauge, but it was owned by the Chicago Northwestern for most of its existence, and it operated primarily for people who were commuting between the two towns. They would also pick up mail. They would pick up milk in the morning and deliver it to the cheese factories, that kind of stuff. So this is my drawing of my layout. Currently, it's in a 23 by 16-foot area, and it goes from Fenimore to Woodman. The layout is called the Ridge Runner Railroad, or the Dinky, probably more commonly called. The Dinky was a railroad that interacted with the Chicago Northwestern in Fenimore, and also with the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul in Woodman. Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul would later on become the Milwaukee Road. Basically, what the Dinky was is it ran from the Chicago Northwestern Depot in Fenimore through area that basically come out of the roundhouse and turntable and came around, and I have it coming down there's a long trestle here, and then in what they called the horseshoe bend, and there's a short trestle here. Then it came into a small town called Worley. Worley was basically is not there anymore. It is currently some houses and stuff, but the depot and everything else is gone. There's the depot, and then this would be what they called the Beaver Lodge, place for dances and get together for the community, and a cheese factory, and there was a church, and then a stockyard. And then when the Dinky left Worley, they had a little siding, and basically this is where they would park the train, park any boxcars they had, whatever. And then they would pick up passengers, milk, whatever, and carry it. And then this was Anderson's Mills, which was nothing more than a platform. And it was basically Anderson Mill was a logging area, a logging company that probably produced most of the ties and any of the lumber they needed for the housing, buildings, whatever in the area. So then the Dinky comes out of there and comes into Fenimore or Woodman, sorry, and goes past this. It goes through a crossing with the standard gauge, and it goes into the Chicago Northwestern Depot. And from there, it would turn and go have both sides interact. And then this was a larger depot, was the Chicago, Milwaukee, or Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul, or the Milwaukee Road. The standard gauge would come from Madison or Milwaukee and go through Woodman, and then pick up passengers that would come in on the Dinky that came from Fenimore, and they would transport them and then go to Prairie du Chien, which is on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. Prairie du Chien, the Mississippi River, and it would cross and then go up into Minneapolis. And the Fenimore, the standard gauge, ran from to Madison and Chicago, basically Chicago mostly. And they would have a little creamery here that they would pick up, but basically this was the termination point for it, and it would go back. Later on, Chicago Northwestern got their bridge, got across the Prairie du Chien and abandoned all this. The Dinky was primarily for commuters going from Woodman to Fenimore, and also farmers that had milk to pick up for the cheese factories. They just people going back and forth commuting, kids going to school. There were no roads. It was basically before trucks and cars. So this is pretty close to the prototypical layout for both the Fenimore and Woodman. Worley's pretty close also. So, but there's a crossing here, and I'll show you through the layout. Just okay. This is the layout, and currently this is the end of the where I have the standard gauge that would go on to Madison, Milwaukee from the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul, the Milwaukee Road. I haven't extended the track into this part right here, right here, because I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. But uh, it really would be a good idea, I think, because there's a switch, a turnout right there at the end, and I think I need more track to have a locomotive clear that switching. So then we have like a lumber mill and an elevator. Basically, these are just placeholders. All my track is hand laid. There's the lumber yard, the hotel, and we're coming into Woodman. The Chicago Northwestern Depot would be right here, and then the Dinky and narrow gauge goes on to both sides around it, and then in the back would be the Milwaukee Road with the standard gauge, and in the front, this track right here is for a passing through the railroad through Woodman. And we go back up into Woodman, and here's the crossing with standard gauge and narrow gauge. I still have to build that. I also have a couple turnouts back there that I have to build. And this would be the narrow gauge, the Dinky going into the turntable in the roundhouse of Woodman. And in the back, very back, you see where the standard gauge would go off to uh, Minneapolis. And that would be basically that's where I'll have a staging yard back there. This will be Anderson Mills right in here. I have a view block here is none. We're coming into Worley. Little church on the right. Um, the blacksmith and a stockyard. These are just basically placeholders right now. Cheese factory across the street from the depot, across the track. The depot has been scratch built. The the baggage is just basically two Bachman boxcars put together with a roof over, which is very prototypical of what they did in Worley. And there's a little creek, and then there would be the Beaver Lodge. I'm not sure if that's going to be that size or not yet, or I'll have to scale it down a little bit. I think maybe to force some compression. Again, this track is all hand laid. Coming down, leaving Worley, heading to Fenimore. There's a short trestle. And we're coming into Horseshoe Bend. There's the tall trestle, or long trestle as they called it. That's been scratch built. Again, this will be a scene roof or just a view block. This is eventually I'll do some post or something, a picture. Gotta have a soil pipe. This is the end of the hand laid track, and this is where I'll start working on the track for Fenimore. Come around, the two tracks will be a narrow gauge and then a 4-track dual gauge with the narrow gauge turning and coming into what will be the roundhouse and the depot, the roundhouse turntable. Here's where the depot will be. Basically, this is just all uh, track building supplies, stuff I have stored. I haven't started this yet. I just got some old piece parts in here. Got a lot of work to do there yet. The benchmark is about, I think, 54 inches high. My aisles are only about 30 inches. They're pretty narrow. I'm only going to be the one operating it. This is a one-man show. I don't really need to have, there won't be any kind of operations or much of that. It's basically just documenting, doing the prototype. I do have space on the ends for people to turn around and come back out or whatever. If somebody would want to come in to see it. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around watching to the end. Appreciate it. In the next video, I'll be covering my HO scale switching layout that I'm building. It's called the Pelican Lake and Western. You know the drill. Please subscribe, like, comment, and peace, love.